We are live according to the internets. So hello everybody, it's Alexander Williamson. We're here with the secret history living in your aquarium. So glad to have everyone here. Thanks for coming together. We've got an awesome guest today, Sean from Pecktec Aquatics or Pecktec.
Just Pecktec.
Just Pecktec. Yeah. Just one name. He's like Prince. He's iconic, you know.
Madonna.
Madonna. Yeah. Okay. I can think of a few others, you know. But
the Aquarius, formerly known as Pecktec.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you don't know his channel, I highly encourage you guys to check it out. He is both a creative artist, cinematography wise and editing wise. I would say one of the more interesting channels, which contrasts my lazy channel and anything I have done editing wise. But yeah, you get pretty creative with it, and you know your content, the things you cover, you do it in a really nice way. So
thank you.
Yeah, and we'll put the links pin those in the comments once this episode's up and live. But for the future travelers that will watch this, but time travelers. So how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm back at work, like physically in the office now, and I hate it. No. I feel like, oh man, there's just so much of the time goes by in your day just in that commute. I really miss having that extra hour or so in my life every day. But yeah, it's just been real busy, like summer stuff. Summer's always busy.
Yeah,
family reunion and traveling places and doing things. It's been a hectic summer so far, but fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw your coverage down at Aquashella and your road trip with the boys of over Chattanooga Ed and Fish Room Fever.
Tennessee Fish Mafia represent.
That's right. Yeah. Most organized RICO case waiting to happen for the fishtube.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, how did you get into YouTube fishtube? How'd you get trapped into this pyramid scheme?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think as a hobbyist, I started with books, like, you know, keeping aquarium. When I got into aquariums, I started keeping looking at books and stuff, and then I naturally started watching videos. And as I learned more and more, like I always liked making videos, and I was had been making like some roller derby videos because I really liked roller derby when I first back then.
Sure.
Yeah. And I still like it. I just haven't been in a long time, so I can't really call myself a super fan anymore. I used to film a lot of the events, and I did like interviews with them and stuff. And I
cool.
It was neat. And I decided I wanted to tell some, to talk about fish a little bit. And I made a couple of videos, and one of them for the Fluval spec did really well. And that kind of launched me into making more and more videos like that.
So you just jumped in and like you were keeping fish and just decided to post like how it was going for yourself? Is that kind of?
Yeah, I did like I noticed the instructions for the Fluval spec weren't very good. And so I was like, this would be a great one to kind of like do a how-to, and so I just made a little planted tank, and it looked all right. It was one of the little 2-gallon Fluval specs. And it's a real, like, looking back at it now, it's pretty cringy video, I guess. But at the time, there weren't a lot of like really cleanly made videos and stuff. So
yeah,
it did well. It did really well. And Fluval put it up on their page, like didn't have a website. They had the Fluval blog or something.
Okay.
So if you went looking up Fluval spec, you'd find my video. And because of that, it did really well, and it kind of encouraged me to make more aquarium videos. I didn't realize at the time that if you ever make aquarium videos, that channel is always now an aquarium video channel.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't quite get that. I thought you could do just anything that people might like, and then you'd have an audience. But But no, it's not. That's not the case.
No pivoting for you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. That's funny.
I still I stay true to kind of what I like to do. Like all the videos are videos I'd like to watch that I make. You know, I try not to I try not to go through the motions and just make a video. And I try not to make videos that are real temporary. Like I never acknowledge a holiday or a time of year or anything like that. I hardly ever do anything like that unless I'm talking about an update where a specific date matters. Like if I'm updating a project that I've worked on before or something like that. So
yeah,
my philosophy is just to make the best video you can make, and just try to focus on quality. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't.
You're a timeless guy. No, well, that's what I like about your channel, though, is like you're always innovating. I mean, you just at Aquashello, when you documented that, you had that 3D 360 or whatever the panable camera, and I mean, yeah, and I encourage people to check it out and give you feedback at least, though. You know what I mean? If they don't like it, let you know. But I'm curious because I'd considered trying that kind of stuff out too. Now that my channel's kind of at a certain point, I feel like where it behooves me to try some of that stuff rather than for me, I kind of came at it from the exact opposite end of what most people, it seems like, hopped into YouTube, which was they were good at editing or making videos and happened to like fish and kind of got into it from I like kind of tinkering and editing and putting something together. I was like, I just like talking about nerdy fish stuff, and I am terrible at editing. And so I kind of came at it from kind of the vlog, I guess you'd call it, end of things. And now I'm trying to play catch up. And so that's why I harass you and ask, hey, Sean, what are you using for a mic? What are you using for this? So yeah, I appreciate the help.
The 360 camera is, it's really it's been pretty interesting. I'd like to I'll probably end up doing a review on it at some point.
Yeah.
At this point, I've got a lot of footage. I've gone on 2 vacations with it and the show, and I've shot a lot of stuff in my family reunion and everything. I mean, I've taken it everywhere. It makes, I think the power in it, like if you watch my video for Aquashello, the footage from there where I use the 360, you'll see there's kind of 2 ways to go with it. Like you can shoot 360 and it be something you can look around like I shot it live, and you can look live and like take your camera and move around and stuff. And that's kind of neat, but I think I can see where that could be annoying too. Like, and I've noticed like when I post on Facebook with it, you can get stuck in there and it doesn't move around really.
Yeah, jittery and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird. And but what I do like is that you can film that way, and then in post you can move the camera all over the place. Like you can move the camera all the way around. In fact, I could have a scene going over here and then another scene going with what was going on behind me.
Right. That is so cool. Or to do an interview that way where you got 2 cameras in one kind of thing, that part of it I really like.
Apparently you can hook it up as a webcam and it shoots both ways and does this like split screen top and bottom kind of Brady Bunch style of
cool.
Side by side would make more sense, but
sure, but
it does like a top and a bottom. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I see. I mean, just going out on a limb and trying that stuff. I mean, it's not free, so it's it's brave of you and makes your channel interesting. A lot of people don't bother.
I have to thank my Patreons. They've made it possible to experiment like that without it like killing me.
Right, yeah.
Or having to make some choices like.
Do I feed the fish or do I make the video?
We would buy a lesser brand of fish flakes this week.
Yeah, there you go. Acme fish flakes.
That's a little cornmeal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fish eat corn, right?
I think that's fine for them. Doesn't bloat them or anything. So I was also curious, like, how many tanks are you keeping at this point? Like,
I have got 15.
Quite a few, huh? 15?
Yeah, I've got 15. And that's but they're all like like pretty tanks. Like they're
Yeah, yeah.
not. I mean, I keep them. I try to keep them all up to to look aquascape. Now, most of the time they just jungle out. Like this one's due to be redone, and every so often I have to redo one. But I mostly plant them. I try to plant them and look really nice, and then I let them just grow into a huge jungle. Then I split them in half and redo them and started another tank.
I should show you real quick. Let me pivot this and show you how bad. Talk about jungle tanks.
Look at that.
It's a CO2 tank, so I mean, it's like the plants are all rare and stuff. Same with now this one. I'm really gonna get in trouble from the wife now that this one's turning into a jungle too. But I mean, it's just I only have so much CO2 set up, and so I'm like, oh, I better put this plant in that tank too, and I better put this one in there, and then now I'm just a couple weeks behind on trimming, and it adds up quickly when you have tanks that you've scaped like that for sure. So
I just bought one of the on Prime Day. They had one of those DIY CO2 tanks.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen? They're like metal.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
I have. Yeah.
I got one, but it doesn't have a solenoid on it. So.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
so you have to flip it on every day.
Well, I haven't set it up yet. I wish I'd bought the one. I might just take it to a fish swap and sell it cheap and buy the one with solenoid on it. But I've been wanting to use one of those. Like it's so like they seem like they work so much better with pressure. I mean, it's a real metal tank and everything.
Yeah.
With a nice regulator on top or a decent looking regulator on top. But I'm afraid if I put the solenoid after that, it'll just explode whatever. Either the bubble counter or the hose that comes out of the bubble counter. So
yeah, buy that heavy duty hose. I made that mistake when I was first getting into CO2. I had that thing go off like a firecracker. I mean, the airline exploded, and it was a short section. And I think if it was a long section, it probably would have split with more bass. But it was the in between the check valve and the pump or the.
Sounds like a gunshot, doesn't it?
And it sounds like a gunshot. Yeah, I couldn't hear out of that ear for a while. When Fluval first came out with their very first small CO2, the little almost like pellet gun recharger size ones.
Yeah. Or even smaller.
Yeah, even smaller. Yeah. And it didn't have a check valve built in, the very first model. I went out and bought it, and it kept blowing up, and then finally it turned out that like mine didn't come with a check valve. so yeah, but that they released a different change to it after I talked to them, and I think that has been long since fixed. But I remember that being scary, like when you're kind of new to CO2 and
that first one they had was just like some inverted cups. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The one that came in like the Flora when that. Can't lose track where it is. The one that. Okay, still doing it wrong. Okay. The one that came in one of these tanks, those Flora tanks, it was like two inverted cups, and you'd release the CO2 into it, and then it would just kind of bubble up, and then you just leave it there, and it would just kind of dissolve inside those cups. But
have you tried out the cans at all? Like they look like spray paint cans, and they're like CO2, just like I don't know.
No, I haven't tried.
A few weeks worth for a nano tank or something, But I've seen them around. I went to the aquarium co-op store, like the physical store, and they had them. But I remember Corey filmed them like 2 years ago at Eurozoo or one of the German conventions, and there were like 5 or 6 different brands that were doing it. So I was curious, I wonder if that'll take off here, if you had any experience with that, because. The idea intrigues me. I've done also the like yeast and gelatin and all the different home DIY methods. And unless you've got a nano tank and you really want to stay on top of it, to me, it's kind of lackluster, like I've found you need a decent amount of CO2 and then you can back off. But I feel like you kind of need a punch of it to get things rolling, in my experience. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of a mess and it stinks. And I was just gonna do it just to do it. just to try it on one of my tanks.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I doing DIY CO2. I've done it before, and the last time I made my whole container out of like orange juice.
Oh yeah.
Things and stuff, and but I nearly poisoned my tank.
Like, oh no! Like that much CO2?
Well, I'm bad at mixing stuff, so I think I mixed it up.
Did you make like a volcano? Like,
yeah, I made this like volcano in there. All the fish were at the top of the aquarium.
Oh wow! So you made it too effective.
Yeah, it can go the other way, but it's I kept it going for a few weeks, and it seemed to work really well, or a few months, I guess maybe 2 or 3 months, and then I got sick of doing it all the time, smelling it and cleaning it out and stuff. But I'd be willing to try it again if the product was neat enough. That helped. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, no, I totally agree. I screwed up because I will not do something if it doesn't have. If I have to turn it on and off every day, no.
Yeah,
I won't do it.
That's a bridge too far. Yeah.
It's got I'll watch it click on and monitor it every day to make sure it's not too heavy or too light. But I probably won't be consistent enough. Like I don't get up the same time every single day. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not going to be, especially if I'm working now and I'm in the office. I guess maybe I would be a little bit more consistent in the morning, but I don't want to fiddle with that on my way to, commute.
I can understand that completely. So we are live, and I see a question that it's an interesting question, which is, how do you gentlemen pronounce? It's that plant that starts with CRYPTOCOR.
Cryptocore?
That's what I would say too. Crypt or cryptocorn. I've heard cryptocorine, kind of from a more British twang, but he was curious. Said I've heard 4 different ways today. So
most people call them crypts for short.
Yeah.
They'll say crypt wendetti or crypt.
Yeah.
I don't know any of that. You can name one now.
Lutea or
Parva. Yeah.
Albida. Yeah. There's a lot of them now. I mean, those were popular houseplants in the 70s, and now the aquatic side of it is kind of coming into fruition, I guess. So
have you ever grown one out of the aquarium?
Oh yeah. And actually we're doing on my channel right now, we're doing an aquascape contest where you have to have at least a few immersed elements that are growing out of the water. So, I mean, that can be a flowering anubias or, boost or something too. But I've got a bunch of tubs outside also this year where I've collected like native Ludwigia, things like that. And there's another one where I've heard Ludwigia, and I've heard Ludwigia, I've heard, different versions of it. But
it's best just to say it with confidence.
That's right. Yes. Well, I mean, because if you're German, say you're Japanese or Chinese versus English, I mean, it's going to have, depending on your language too, like there's certain sounds
from the south or out west. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. From the Tennessee Mafia. So I've been doing that this year, which has been kind of fun. I've been actually going out and collecting native fish, which I kind of assumed was lame in Washington, honestly, for years, because it's moderate here, but it's cold. It doesn't stay warm enough other than in the summer months. So we've got like 55-degree Fahrenheit water for so much of the year. And so, it's kind of, I didn't think there'd be that much cool stuff, but I'm starting to get into the sculpins, and we don't have the darters and shiners and daces like most of the country has. But we do have, bass, and a lot of every trout and salmon that is native to the US is native to our state. So
that's cool.
So that's kind of fun.
It's legal. It's legal for you to go to pull stuff out of the nature like that. It's not here. That's why
I will defer you to my lawyer. So it's an interesting law. Oddly enough, some of the species you can, like carp, they don't care. They want you to get rid of those. Suckerfish, they don't care. So pretty much the invasive fish. And if it's a game fish, you can catch it.
Sure.
You're not supposed to keep it though. You can keep it alive.
I'm supposed to raise it, right?
Right. You can keep it alive in transport in theory. That's kind of it. So they really don't want you keeping a pond, even of like tilapia or anything, technically the way you read the law. That being said, is anybody going to ever do much if you're not doing, if you're not reselling anything or whatever? Probably not. And I've run into the game wardens and stuff a lot of times, and they're more interested in what I'm doing than in enforcing it, which says a lot for them because they can be pretty strict by the book people,
Yeah.
In my past experience, like if I'm game fishing, they're all about dotting the I's and crossing the T's on things. So I also wanted to ask you, because I know you've been on fishtube YouTube for a while, longer than I have, because when I started, I remember seeing your channel and, looking up to it and thinking like, oh, I better, I got to get up there with those guys, the big boys. And, it's funny because now, now it feels good because now I've surpassed the mark of, obviously when I 5 years ago now, the size you were then versus, so, but obviously you've grown, and the chase is on for me to ever catch up with you. But so how long have you been?
It won't take you long. Most people pass me in a few years.
Oh, don't say that.
I've been on for about 13 years.
Okay, that's insane.
Probably, and probably like real serious would be maybe 10 years.
10 years. Wow.
And that's making consistent content.
Yeah. So wow. So 10 years of grinding it out. And how often do you release content usually? Like
normally it's about once a week. I do a Sunday show.
Yeah.
Midnight Sunday, Eastern Standard Time. I usually release a video. I've tried a lot of different things, of course, over the years, and sometimes if it's a fish, the deal I made with my audience is if it's a fish video, it'll be on Sunday at midnight.
Okay.
If something pops up some other time during the week, it's probably something else I'm interested in that I decided to share.
So, what might that be, Sean?
Well, I do an episode like Pecktec's occasional vlog. So if I want to talk about family stuff or where I'm at in the world,
your daughter makes frequent appearances.
Yeah. It's usually about Kerrigan or COVID or something like that. So,
they're both important to you,
right? Sure. Yeah. So it's stuff like that, and I also do some tech reviews. Like every now and then, I'll buy a new camera and I'll go ahead and do a review on it just to. I don't know. Just in case someone else is out there watching and they're wondering about a video camera that they might be interested in. I think a lot of I don't know how high a percentage actually, but a lot of my viewers seem to be like other people that like to make videos too. And especially since I've been around so long, I think they just I'm the one a lot of people watched when they were kind of getting interested in stuff. So
honestly, yeah, I mean,
yeah. Well, I encounter that quite a bit where people are like, "Oh, I remember watching you in high school."
Yeah, I mean,
but anyway,
I guess it probably was 9 years ago. Would probably be around the time when I first saw one of your videos. If I had to guess, it was like you, Dustin, Joey. Few other people that are gone now. And that's kind of the lineup that's around. I mean, I guess Aquarium Co-op started not too long after that period, but it was in the format kind of like my channel in that it was just kind of in the back of his shop with him and his buddy, spacing on the guy's name. But yeah, so but I mean, then there was that was like right when I got into the hobby too, or into the YouTube thing too. Then they teamed up together. They're both out my way.
It was probably 5 years before I met another YouTuber, or before I ventured out to meet anybody else that does the same kind of thing. And now there's these huge get-togethers and stuff. Like there's tons of people, and they all get together and hang out.
I noticed that the last 2 years in particular, like, I mean, it was happening even before COVID and everything, but COVID really caused a lot of people to double down, knuckle down on their channels, you know.
Mm-hmm. They did.
There's a whole like realm that I'm trying to get more familiar with, but you know, there's 15-year-old kids making videos with 50,000 subs, and I'm just like, wait, where is this demographic that I've never met before? You know what I mean? You stumble upon it and YouTube just doesn't suggest it to you because you're an old fogey or whatever it thinks of you. But you know, I guess I don't tend to see the stuff that's like, watch me feed my Paku a watermelon. You know what I mean? I tend to get the like, I don't know, new tech videos and things like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. I think some of them are just pretty to look at.
totally. Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
And I'm not disparaging anybody in particular. Like, I don't spend a lot of time watching fish videos or a lot of other people's videos. I do a percentage of time. I'll watch, you know, what other people are doing, and I look around, try to keep my head up and look around. That's kind of recent. Like, prior to maybe 2 years ago, I never watched another fish video. Like, I got to the point where I was just sick of, like, I'm already going to be talking about fish for, you know, 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out something original to do, and being original was always like a really big deal to me. So I I would purposely kind of shield myself from like other things people were doing, so I couldn't copy them. You know what I mean? Like, because I inevitably, like, I see something I really think is neat, and I'll emulate it or try to take it to the next level. You know, so that's just kind of how I think. So it was, but now I spend a lot more time kind of looking around and see what other people are doing. It was really nice to meet like Fish Room Fever.
Yeah.
He lives down the road from me. I mean, across town, but you know, but closer than any other fish tuber does. And Chattanooga Ed, he comes up here, and they both come over and play board games and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know it was like that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's just neat to have real friends and like community stuff. So
none of that ASL chat room typing.
Right.
I don't know if you're of a certain age, you remember that. So.
Oh, the chat rooms. Man,
yeah,
it's been
forums and chat rooms. You know, it's funny because I got into fish keeping around 97, like as a young teenager and kind of getting into my teenage years. And that was what was available. You know what I mean? So the changes, that's something I'm interested on my channel, in talking to more people who were around for that. There was no authoritative or centralized digital place to go necessarily, but the aquarium magazines were the end all be all, and had all the, you know, listings in the back of what clubs you could join, or mail order killifish eggs, or get the roster for who's breeding what from the Live Bearer Association or whatever. And that's something that, like, with Rachel O'Leary, I've wanted to chat with her. You know, I did chat with her about that a little bit in an interview. And
which magazines did you keep?
I had, of course, the Tropical Fish Hobbyist one, and then you know, the Axelrod Empire, and then the one that I really liked when it started coming out, though, was Amazonas and Reef to Rainforest. That stuff. That
were they the little ones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to get those. I loved those.
Yeah, they were really kind of. I think too, because they covered like Takashi Amano and some of the other like interesting things going on around the world, like and Michael Finley and Oliver Knott and some of the other George Farmer. You know, when that stuff came out, that's what reintroduced me as an adult into. I mean, I know it was going on in the 90s, but not prolifically at all. But when that finally became mainstream in Asia or in Germany, for instance, that's kind of when I first caught wind of it, maybe 10 years ago, and started really like being fascinated by it and moved by it. And then about 6 years ago is when I was like, you know what, I want to try this and, like, you know, get get back into the hobby, and I married my wife, and so it was kind of like a good time to, you know, get tanks again and
settle down and raise some fish.
Yeah, race. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Show her how crazy I am, you know. So, but it's interesting.
One aquarium.
Yeah. So I mean, you have planted tanks pretty much exclusively from what I've seen. Is that? Yeah. And was there a phase that turned you that way, or I mean, like, because when I was a kid, I mean, I knew that there were, like, you could put seaweed in my head. That was what you could put in a tank, you know,
right?
And that was about it as far as I was concerned, and driftwood. And I just didn't know any better. And now that I know about it, it's like, man, it makes life so much easier, makes the fish so much healthier and happier.
I felt kind of like I was really missing something when I discovered all that too. I read this book. What was that book called? It's called A Simple Guide to the Planet Aquarium. And I picked it up at McKay's, which is a used bookstore here in town. And it was written by these two ladies. I can't remember their names now, but they I found one of them on MySpace. That's how long ago that
was. Yeah. Okay.
But and we used to talk back and forth. But the that was I just happened upon it, and then I was like, oh, well, here are all these benefits from plants are pretty amazing. And then I started finding out about people with no filter aquariums, where they're just like basically they never do water changes or all that stuff that people chase now. Yeah, that's what led me to plants. And then as after reality set in, I realized that, you know,
you can do that, but do you want to?
Yeah, and you kind of still need a big ecosystem. Like you might be able to do something like that in there, but it's going to be a lot harder, you know.
Yeah.
In a tiny little tanks that I was keeping at the time, but I kept throwing plants in, and I run out of space, and I get another aquarium, filling it up with plants. And
I think the smallest filterless tank that I'd like rightfully call an ecosystem rather than just like rice fish or something, you know, about 12.5 gallons, but it was a shallow low boy do aqua tank.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to have immersed growth, which then those plants could just, you know, churn through that nitrogen like no other, because, you know, they basically had steroid CO2 injection because of the atmosphere, you know.
Oh yeah, they're so close to the surface.
Yeah. So, and then it was like killifish, shrimp, some snails, and CPDs with I don't know, whatever they were, rasboras or something, I think is what worked out for me. But yeah, I like doing that too. And I was watching when you had Dr. Novak on for the long form interview and stuff like that. I love long form interviews. I know that it's a double-edged sword, definitely, to dive in that deep, but I was really happy that to see that, and just to hear out his system kind of in a presentation, rather than you go to his channel and he talks a lot about it, but he kind of packaged. Yeah, like, yeah.
It's hard to get it all in one place. I noticed that too.
Yeah. So that really helped. Like,
yeah. I had questions.
I still have some questions, but I respect the work a lot, you know?
Yeah. It seems like he's really thought about it a lot and put a lot of effort into trying to present it. And he does a pretty good job on his channel, but it's funny talking to him and other people too. You can tell when they've been kind of browbeaten by comments too much.
Yes.
And they're almost like super defensive about, you know, about stuff. Is like, no, I just have legit questions. It's not.
Yeah, I'm not getting at anything other than what I'm saying.
I'm not asking for a copy of your diploma or anything.
Right. Yeah. No, I've definitely seen that, you know, the same thing. And then Fatherfish is another one that, you know, I'm friends with Lou, but he and I have some major differences in some things, but we totally agree on others. And he's got the deep substrate sand tank method, and kind of unknowingly, or I mean, knowingly now, but he kind of created a similar effect, you know what I mean, by doing 7 inches of sand, you get an anoxic layer eventually.
Yeah, you do.
So,
you do.
But so
he just
I think,
doesn't use the plenum.
Yeah, exactly. And now some people though have, including myself, have made adjustments trying out his style by putting the plenum in. I've done PVC pipes and filled them with red, the red lava rock you get at like Home Depot, and that really slows down the flow, but it's also still surface area for bacteria to colonize. And I've had pretty good experience with that. I can run that without a filter, so to speak, and just let the water kind of osmotically flow through the tank with convection and stuff. And it runs low, like under 20 nitrates parts per million, and that's stocked pretty well. So I'm happy with it. That tank that I showed you with the plants going crazy. Obviously the plants would take care of anything in that tank right now, but before it looked like that, it was an Iwagumi tank, and then that shows you how much discipline I have. So
those do take a lot of discipline, because they're just supposed to be this little nice lawn with some rocks and stuff.
Right, yeah. And once I get it like carpeted, like it's kind of exciting waiting for it to fill in, and then I'm kind of like, well, it would look nice with a crypt here and some booths here and maybe some stem plants in the background, and then pretty soon I've got everything in there again. So
I've never been able to make one of those. Like I do the same thing. I'm always like, I need some big plants too.
Yeah. I mean,
can't be just these little rocks in a field of green.
I mean, for me, it's almost like modern art and fine art versus like what you'd hang in your house. So like, I respect it. I see what it is. I understand what goes into it, and I look at it and I'm like, well done, looks good, moving on. And then, and I've actually really gotten into, for a while, I really got into the symbolism and all the meaning behind how many stones and the size and the, if you're going to use the rule of thirds and
the mother stone and then the subordinate stone.
Yeah. And then, it's kind of interesting though, if you look at like Muslim tessellation, like ceramic tile art in mosques from like 700 AD. And if you look at Celtic art from 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, Navajo art, Japanese art, I mean, the rule of
the Chinese monks that would do. Have you seen what they do with sand?
Yes, the sand mandalas. Yes, I actually got to take part in one of those once, and the agreement. I was only 14 years old, and they were giving a speech at University of Washington, and my neighbor was hosting them from Nepal, and they were geshlas or teachers underneath the head of the Nepalese in exile, basically. Like, so there's the Dalai Lama, then there's like 3 more groups in Mahayana Buddhism below them. And so they're right there. I mean, pretty important guys. And so they were staying there and didn't speak much English, but I was fascinated by them starting this thing in the garage of our friend's house. And they said it was going to take a week. And so by like the 3rd day or something, they saw that I was really interested, and they invited me over and kind of laid out the rules through a translator. And it was a really, really moving experience, because I had no idea what was going to happen. And so we made it, and then all these people came over on Saturday or whatever day was the end of it. And then they have it outside, and we're out in this beautiful garden with some acreage and sunny day, and the birds are chirping, and they've got incense, and they're doing chants, and they've got bells, and I don't know what they're saying, but it sounds interesting. And it's just kind of a nice, relaxing, like, helps you, even at that age, I was really into it, thought it was really cool. And then all of a sudden, the 2 monks pick up this board that's like 3 feet by 3 feet that we literally tapped 1 or 2 grains of sand at a time to make. And they gave me basically a pizza slice on a wheel, on a medicine wheel.
Right.
And to work on for a week.
Sure.
Or 4 days or whatever. And then they pick it up, and nobody had told me. And the internet wasn't like a place to Google stuff very well back then. So I didn't know they were going to just pick it up and throw it.
Yeah.
And they literally just threw it into the wind. And I just remember thinking, we just worked. Did anybody take a picture? Like, what what the hell was that? You know, and you know, they thought that was so funny that my face, because they're like, well, you just learned the lesson that like most people don't, or they skip over. They already know that's inevitable. You know what I mean? But as a kid, you're like, what the hell? What a dumb idea. But now you look at it, okay,
Hard work, worthwhile but temporary.
yeah,
just
everything.
like life is, you know.
Yes. So yeah, long story short, sorry, I just hijacked your your episode, but that was a moving experience. The other thing about those monks was one of them said, I said, what's your favorite thing about America? And even getting that question across was kind of hard. And he thought about it for just this really long time. And I thought he was going to say something profound, because everything he'd said up to that point was very profound. And he goes, Bon Jovi. And he had a cassette player, like a Sony Walkman from the 80s. And he had Bon Jovi and Cougar Mellencamp, and like all his music was out of date, you know, because this was probably 2000 or 2001 or something like that.
He'd probably lose his mind if you'd brought him current, even at that point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, they still thought Elvis was pretty wild, so or the Beatles, you know. But I thought that was cool, though, that they did like that kind of music, even on a monastery.
Chicken nuggets.
Yeah, exactly. It's the little things in life. So the other thing I was going to say is, so like now that we have seen all these new channels popping up, and also, by the way, Rico, I did see your super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. Rico Stan, I appreciate that.
Rico's a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know Jerry Garcia was still alive, but I mean, he is, and well on that channel. No.
Every time I see a dude with a big white beard, I send it to him.
Oh boy.
As Christmas comes, his mail might get pretty full.
Yeah, he's got to be Fishmas Santa, that's for sure, this year for the community.
Yeah.
So, I mean, speaking of folks that have hopped into the hobby and hopped into the YouTube making stuff, you know, what changes have you? I mean, have you seen a trend in general of like what you're seeing coming out? Like, do you think it's becoming a niche that is a money maker, or is it still real about the passion of fish keeping, or both? You know, I'm kind of curious what you think.
I think it's sort of, I think YouTube, like as a whole, I'm not talking about just fishtube.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people jump in it the way we did. Like, we just felt like we needed to talk about the thing we're obsessed with.
Need a friend.
Well, you've already, I mean, after you've already taught your wife's ear off,
right,
about it, and your friend and your parents, I mean, it's time to just give the whole rest of the world a try. That's kind of where I was.
Yeah,
and that's what I had to do with board games too.
Yeah, I feel you completely on that.
But I think it's sort of this kind of gold rush of people that want to be famous, or you know, they want to. I don't know. I never had any ambitions of fame, but I did enjoy the attention. And I still do, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a Leo, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like
Pecktec, no ambitions. Are sure you didn't mean inhibitions, sir?
Somewhere between the two. But I think there's this thing where like I read a report the other day that was talking about jobs that they'll poll like high school and middle school students and what they want to be, and I think 20% of them said they wanted to be YouTubers.
Uh-oh, that's not gonna work.
And I was just like, wow, talk about something that, like, when I was in middle school.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have been, like a lifeguard.
Astronaut, I don't know.
I think I wanted to be a photographer all through high school. Like, that's what I thought.
You're one of those kids.
Yeah, that's what I thought I wanted to be. You know, I was an art kid. Like, my mom's
me too.
An art teacher. I've been doing art since I was able to pick up a crayon. You know, I've always done art of some
sort. It shows in your craftsmanship of your videos, in the way you approach things. Yeah, it shows, definitely.
But, you know, so for me, either making a nice aquarium or a nice video and stuff, it's all just stuff I have to do. Like, I'm always going to be creating something. And I don't know. I think think it's addictive and it's fun. I think the attention can be, and YouTube in general, not just fishtube, people that do dogs and people that do cats and cross stitching and cooking and everything else. I think all of those things have exploded, and there's this wide variety of voices to hear.
Yeah. So there's room for us all. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, there is. There's room for everyone, and the algorithm will choose.
Yeah, it's
determine your fate.
Yeah. So the other thing, speaking of like art creativity, you've got a tank that I adore, and that is your Steampunk tank.
Oh.
And I want to encourage people to go check out that on your channel. I can probably link that in the pinned comment too later. But
I was gonna say the light just turned off. I can
Oh, really? Yeah. If you got access to it. I mean, because this thing, I saw this and I was like, I'm gonna build one, and then I tried to start doing it, and I was like, no, I'm not. That's a lot of work. But yours, I thought that was so cool because I've done art in that kind of realm quite a bit, but it's kind of, you got like a Jules Verne sci-fi like enclosure around your aquarium over there, which is pretty neat when everything's plugged in. And
yeah, let me turn it. I'm trying to do this so I won't show my butt on the camera.
Oh yeah, careful. Kenny at Danikin Aquatics, that one goes out to you, sir, if you're watching. And thanks everybody in the chat while he's grabbing that. Thanks for joining us. If you want to hit that like button, you can. I'm not forcing you, but I'm forcing you. Please do that or get out. Just kidding. I love you guys. But yeah, just this, like, I mean, Sean does this whole like pimp my tank kind of thing where he will just, it's not just the actual what's in the tank, but all around the tank too is cool. I mean, have you done a TV tank, Sean?
No. That was sort of the inspiration where those TV tanks were sort of the inspiration for this one.
Yeah, I made one of those in high school, and I shudder at the precautions I took at just ripping the guts out of that TV, an old vacuum tube TV.
That can be kind of dangerous, can it?
Yeah, I mean, you could shock yourself if it's plugged in at all, but two, yeah, there's not good stuff in there to be messing with, and we definitely just pried it out. But yeah, I mean, and you took this
drooping a little bit. Usually, it's a little bit higher in there.
But that's so cool, though. I mean, and then the wood enclosure around it, and the porthole, and
yeah. So this is kind of like a Kleenex sleeve. It fits around the tank, right? You've seen those Kleenex that have like decorative sleeves,
the tikis and stuff. Yeah,
yeah. That was the inspiration for this. So there's a 5-gallon tank in here, and this just sits on top of it. And so this is just a hole.
Okay.
And this thing here is what you put around a what do you call it? Like a ceiling fan to make it a little bit more decorative.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I mean, it looks just like a submarine or, old porthole.
I've got some brass stuff on top. This is like old candle, some candle stand or something. And this was it's a little dusty. This was a terrarium of some sort that I found at a thrift shop.
Nice.
I've got wabi-kusa balls inside, and that's what all the plants are growing off of. So the water gets pumped from a pump over here up into a tray. It goes through these wabi-kusa balls and then back into here.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
These are on the side here. I've got I've got some tools and stuff and a spray bottle. I thought I'd have to spray this more often, but it turned out I really didn't have to.
Is that like an old school spray bottle with a little pump? Yeah, that's great.
It looks older than it is. Like this was one thing, and then this bottle was another thing, and I put it in that cork so that it would kind of keep it tight. So I kind of made this from 2 different sprayers.
Wow, so that's really creative. I mean, that's set design, that's prop design right there. That's really cool.
This is like a toothbrush thing. But it's brass and it fit right on there. And inside, I've got a bunch of coolie loaches. If I could get it close, I'd show you. But my cord won't reach that far.
So in the chat, we have Aqua Balls, which is George. He breeds every fish and also ball pythons that are really pretty.
Oh, wow.
But he says, if we get 100 likes in the next 20 minutes, I'm giving away a pair of platinum blue angels. Come on, people. So that's very nice of you, George.
Wow, there's some incentive right there.
Yeah, so click those buttons and then talk to George about how you get them if we make it there. So let's see here, cruising along. There were a couple other things I wanted to get to, if we have the time. Which I mean, do you have a favorite episode that you've done on your show, or that you'd like people to see that maybe they haven't, like that doesn't get a lot of attention? I mean, it doesn't have to be just one, but just curious.
Like a favorite video that I've made?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of videos I made early on, like maybe a year in, and like I spent 50 hours researching the thing, and it's got 300 views, and it's never going to gain the traction. You know what I mean? Like it's the snowball's never going to roll downhill, it feels like, and you just kind of wish, like, do I repost it? Is that allowed? You know, do I remake it? Yeah.
You can, but it's funny that algorithm will punish you anytime you step out of bounds a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you can feel that ruler on the back of your hand 5 years later. So, yeah. So, is there anything like that like we could encourage people to check out on your channel that you feel like was a worthy watch that's kind of hidden away?
Well, yeah, I loved. I made all these clone videos that weren't super popular, but a lot of people like them, and I usually, when someone talks about my channel, they bring up the clones at some point.
That's literally the next question on my list of questions, which usually I don't write a strict list of questions, but I wanted to cover a few things like that tank and the clones, with you.
So I've got
these videos.
I've got a really short playlist called the Life in, what is it called? Life in Aquaria. That's a story about the clones, about me living with the clones, and then them taking over. We find a spaceship. They trap me inside of it. I escape and save Christmas. It's crazy, and it took a long time to make it.
You're like, this will be a cute idea. 50
someone please
hours later.
Well, I started like doing a little segment, like a minute at the end of my video would just be like some little piece of this story and stuff. And I was like, that's not the way YouTube works. Nobody's ever going to piece it together.
Right. You got to have diehard fans for that one.
Yeah. I mean, really, people really got a sense of it and they liked it. And in 2015, almost every episode I did had clones in it. And I would have, I would have impressed. Like sometimes five of me talking at the same time. And it was really, it got really complicated. Some of those weeks were like, I'd come home from work and I'd eat dinner, and then I'd work on a video until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then I go to bed and I do it all the next day. So I was basically working 2 jobs, trying to make those videos, and it's just like I get comments like, "That's so distracting." Why can't you just tell me about plants?
Man, that's
I get
crazy.
sick of trying to figure out which one of you is real.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I enjoyed making them, and I'm glad I did, and they kind of live forever on there. But it got to be kind of too much. And I wanted to do, I wanted to like finish out the story. Like I have the whole story of the clones in my head. Like I've got the whole story
really?
written out. Yeah, and it gets crazy. There's lots of time travel, lots of crazy stuff that happens. But I just haven't had I don't know, over time I've lost the energy and to pursue that. And I've tried to do more reputable stuff, like more normal stuff, like aquarium projects and stuff like
I'm going to try to switch over real quick if I lose you for a sec, just to my cell phone again.
Sure. Sure.
Because I think my video quality is just degenerated with my. I've called Comcast like 30 times, and they can't do anything about this. Apparently, I don't know what's going on. But I might lose you first.
No problem. I guess I'm still going though, so I'll just keep talking. I was wondering. I was going to see if I could pull up the comments.
All right, yeah. Because I mean, other than that, the last thing I really wanted to talk to you about. I mean, so we've told people that. I mean, have we explicitly told people that you have a second channel? By the way, I don't know if we have.
Oh well, no, I kind of mentioned it in passing, but I have a board game channel where I talk about board games.
Oh, weird! You don't talk about aquarium stuff over there?
No, I just sit in front of aquariums and talk about board games. Every now and then somebody was like, that's a pretty nice tank. I'm like, you should watch those videos. Those are the ones people enjoy.
Yeah, but that's got to be a wormhole like trip for somebody who's tuning in to watch board games, and they're like, boy, I'd like to know about that aquarium. And you're like, well,
you would.
you?
Here's 30 hours of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy. When I have something I'm really passionate about, I like to talk about it. So, and I've got ideas for, I watch a lot of board game videos, like reviews and stuff. I am absolutely obsessed with them, and I have been for a few years now. So, it's one of those things you watch and you watch and you watch, and then pretty soon you want to be the one making them too. It's not enough to just watch videos happen. You want to be part of it. Plus, I think there's something about when you spend money, it's more worthwhile if like it has some purpose other than just to entertain you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know how else to explain. It's like I bought this 360 camera. My first go-to is like, I'll do a review. I'm like, why would anyone care what you think of a camera? Well, are you going to put it in a fish tank? That's what they want to see.
Right, yeah.
Put it in a fish tank. So
sink it. So there's a little tidbit that I picked up last time we talked, and it might be speaking of, wormholes, like what the heck, what do you mean? Can you say that one more time? Rumor has it you were a private detective?
That's true.
Like Dick Tracy style?
Yeah, private investigator.
Private investigator. Okay, all right.
We call like the preferred way to call is a personal investigator.
Oh, that sounds really creepy.
Same thing.
Okay.
It's just a little bit less. I don't know. That's what they wanted me to call it.
It's less loaded.
Yeah, kind of less loaded. Sounds less mysterious.
Less 2 foot long camera lenses coming out, trench coats, and Dick Tracy.
Oh my gosh, the things that people conceive of what a private investigator is it's shady enough, So they're always looking for a way to kind of tone it down a little bit, seem a little less scary.
So, can you tell us a little bit like how you got into that? Like, I mean, how does Fish Pecktec, Clone Man, board game extraordinaire start kicking down doors and busting cheaters and bad guys and fraudsters?
That would be really exciting. I didn't do any of those things.
I need by the end of the week a clip of you jumping over the hood of like a 1978 Buick, just sliding over the hood and hopping into the car.
You need a time machine, both for the Buick and for the dexterity that would be required.
I know. I'd probably hit hood ornament and then get a cut, and then that would get infected.
Is this a fail video that you would like to see? Yeah. It would be like, I could probably get hit by a car. I could find a classic car show and just run out in traffic. That's probably the closest we can get.
I bet that video would get a lot of views.
It probably would. That's
Pecktec runs
my channel. Pecktec hit by car.
Yeah, that's the that and not clickbait in parentheses.
Yeah. Something for the haters.
Yeah,
I like this one.
There's somebody. It cracks me up. There's somebody on my channel who clicks thumbs down when the video uploads, like religiously. And I'm just amused by it at this point. They're my most obsessed fan.
Yes.
hands down they are. I mean, I don't know if it's 2 people or several people or YouTube, someone at YouTube hates me, but it's quick, and it usually happens almost every time, like within the first 5 minutes of it being up. And I'm like, who is awake? Why, like, who's like getting an alert and hitting the thumbs down? I need to meet this person and thank them for all the watch time and interaction.
You're assuming they watch afterwards.
That's true. That's true. They probably do not.
I always wonder who my 4 or 5 people are, and if they're the same people or if it's different people and stuff. I try not to think about it too much, but it is bizarre. Like when someone hates you so much that they're like, "Oh, I turned on notifications just to calm it down."
Just to tell you how much you suck.
It's like if you arrive after you receive a notification, you're not making the video do worse.
Yeah, exactly.
The more people that show up, the more people will watch.
Well, and that the thumbs up versus thumbs down, like, doesn't matter to me.
I don't think it matters to the algorithm either. It's just like, wow, that made you react.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of like a truly masterful clickbait would be like, you know, hey, I have an opinion about this, or you know, that's
comment down, leave a comment.
Thanks. Yeah. I know. I think about like, should I do that more? And like, you know, they actually now they scan the thumbnails, and if you've got like a picture of a human face and text, it rates that thumbnail higher, which is interesting to me. Like they actually, it's not heavily weighted, but they had an actual programmer who worked for YouTube, and he's like, yeah, people don't realize these things, but the AI's gotten pretty sophisticated. We also transcribe all the, you know, text, and there's just, you know, tags don't work for much other than misspellings and making sure that like the verbal cues from the translated dialogue match up with the like if I say aquascape and that word is not known, then it'll go to the keywords and see if anything phonetically looks similar, and that's why those are there now more so than actually labeling it, because it's going to just strip the dialogue and assume that, as well as now they're doing the thing that, I mean, even your phone does it now on Android anyways, and I think iPhones too, where it'll tell you like dog, cat, landscape, person, you know. So
a voice to text.
Yeah, it's a brave new world out there.
If they had cell phones when I was a PI, it would have been so much easier.
Oh, I know. Well, so that's what I was curious about. So again, like, where were you doing this? And like, I mean, can you give us just a little taste of like what a case would be like? Like what would you be asked to do for that?
Well, the way it happened was I was a photographer. My wife and I were photographers at Philips Consumer Electronics. They were at the time, they were Philips Magnavox was the brand.
Magnavox, yeah.
And so they moved their corporate headquarters to Atlanta, but they didn't want to set up a photography studio in Atlanta. So my wife and I got laid off. We just had Kerrigan. My daughter had just been born.
Great time to be laid off.
Yeah, Holly's laid off. She worked there too, right?
Yeah.
So Holly was laid off, and I was laid off. I got to stay about 3 months more. But in that time, I was like, okay, I need alternate income. I'll do photography. But I was like, I'm going to need probably something more than photography, especially if I'm out on my own and not under a corporate umbrella of some sort. So I went and I'd always wanted to be a private investigator, and I went through and I found out what I needed to do. I got my licenses and stuff all locked down.
Is this Tennessee?
Yeah, in Tennessee.
Okay.
In Kentucky, because they have nothing there. And so I went and I got licensed and set up, and I opened a company called Southern Exposure, so I could have one business card, and it'd be either for photography or for private investigator work and stuff.
They filmed the show Northern Exposure, like, right near me, and out where I go collect fish, and like the nearest place I could go camping, like 45 minutes away. But yeah, so I get the reference. I don't know if everyone does, but
my wife's favorite show was Northern Exposure. Yeah, so I was like, how about we'll do Southern Exposure? We'll just use the name for both companies.
Kill two birds with one stone.
Well, that way is like one set of business cards and one
Yeah.
template and one business license and all that stuff. And I just did both things. Yeah, I just did both things. Tax wise, it was kind of a pain in the butt. But 9/11 happened right like that same year, and the photography stuff dried up, and it was all PI stuff. So then I went to another. So I went to another company, and I basically did their fall over work. You know, the stuff they didn't have time to do, and I just kind of joined in with them. Like I still had a personal license. So in Tennessee, you have to have a company license, and then there has to be a licensed individual that is in charge. So I was both of those entities.
Okay.
And because of that, I could do independent contracts with other licensed individuals. So that they were giving me, but they had this this company was the oldest company in Knoxville. Like they've been doing this for 50 years, and they're these old grizzled pros and stuff.
They're like smoking indoors with just like mountains of paper.
And they got the little spy shop, and they're like, why do you want to be a PI? And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, that's a good answer. You know? They're like, I just remember I walked in for my, I guess, interview where I was introducing myself and trying to get work from them and stuff. And they're like, dang, he looks like everybody.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a compliment right there for you, for that.
Apparently, I was a really good everyman. And
I get stopped all the time as people are like, hey, are you, why do I know you? And I'm like, I don't know. Why do you know me? I run down all the things I'm proud of, and they're like, no, don't care about any of that stuff. You know, and they're like, no, I think my cousin's friend just looks like you, and then they just walk away.
I'll be like, do you have an aquarium?
Yeah.
And they go, no. I'm like, then I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
still waiting for somebody to come. Hey, you help teach me this board game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It probably never happened.
You saved my life. I was so depressed, and playing Settlers of Catan just took me out of the dark place.
You taught me about trash pandas.
I mean, board games are good. There's a lot of people. Actually, I would have to say we have all these board game cafes in Seattle now, and like bars and stuff. And there's one in Portland that's really cool. That's got like all this like original Star Trek memorabilia and like Marvel and DC like original. Like the owners must have had some money, and just like they put their collection in the bar. And then they've got, pinball machines and old arcade machines, plus everything has a theme around it. And then there's new board games you can play with. I think it's called like the Nerd Spot Cafe or something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, you'd get a kick out of it. And there's free stickers. There's just all sorts of branding too. Like it's done very well, and just, a fun kind of little shtick.
It'd be neat to have a cafe or something like that around here. I don't know if I could give up my personal games to start one though. They're a little too precious to me right now.
Well, you probably have you backed a lot of Kickstarters and stuff like that over the years? Yeah. Yeah, that's
so the stuff I get's kind of like the super premium version of the game and stuff.
Well, yeah, and it's especially if it goes on to be popular, that stuff's worth some money too. Probably, or could be someday. So
every now and then something's collectible and worth a lot of money. I can't sell them at all. Like if I get one that's bad, I'm stuck with it. I'll give it to a friend or something.
Like aquariums.
Yeah.
I spent $20,000 on this setup here for this 500-gallon cichlid tank. I'd like 19,000. I think that sounds fair, right, everyone? People are like, "I'll give you $50." Yeah, that's always how I can tell if they were in the hobby for like a year or 6 months and then got out. Is they'll have 10-gallon tank with everything you need, including dechlorinator and net, $200.
Yeah.
Whereas then you see the other guys like, I got 40 20 gallons, $15 a piece. If you want them, pick them up. They're scuzzy.
Don't you always wonder, those real expensive 10 gallons, don't you always wonder, like, where did you buy it?
Yeah.
Like, did you go to Neiman Marcus and pick this up? Does that have golden gravel, or those gold nuggets for the gravel, or what?
I guess they probably just kept track of every penny they spent. And I mean, some of the things are expensive, but I mean, that's like what they spent on it, and they think they're going to get it back, you know? But I see that all the time on Craigslist or on whatever Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. You know?
This friend of mine from Facebook wrote me the other day, and he goes, I guess he's a landlord. He's got some like an apartment or condo or something that he sublets, and he apparently they had left like a 200-gallon aquarium with a sump and stuff in there. It looked pretty bad. Like it looked like maybe salt water, and it was obviously drained and not prettied up, not clean. He's like, I was thinking about just taping it up and busting it up with a hammer or something. Do you have any recommendations? I was like, take that picture and put it on Facebook Marketplace and say free 200-gallon aquarium, unknown condition. He goes, really? I said, yeah, we'll just try for 15 minutes. He wrote me back like later that day. He's like, within 2 hours, there was 6 people over at the place carrying that thing out the door. I was like, I told you, man, the fish nerds, they mean business. The 200-gallon tank, that's a fun project for somebody.
I mean, it's wild how hard it is to move some of those big tanks too. Like, man, I feel like you'd have to pay someone to get rid of it at certain points, you know?
Well, yeah, that's why it's like that's the free part. I mean, you could charge them $50 or something, but if it's free, I mean, you put up with almost anything. There's like no questions asked at that point. I mean, the stand alone, the stand for it was fine. So you could take that tank and throw it in the dumpster, and that stand's still worth $100 and something, a couple $100 for a tank that big.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I see super chats, Thomas and Laura, was it? Thank you so much for the super chats. I appreciate y'all. That's very nice of you for the tip. I'll be splitting it equally with Pecktec, YouTube, and myself. We'll all get a third, I guess.
That's all right.
So what was the last thing? So
we were talking about the PI stuff.
Yeah.
Most of being a private investigator, at least during the work I was doing, was you're really bored sitting in your car. Like I did almost all surveillance, and it was almost all child custody surveillance. So I'll be hanging out, seeing who's coming over, or if someone's coming over to spend the night, to stay the night and stuff. And
he's a degenerate. She's a degenerate. Yeah.
Well, if someone pulls up and they're there past like, I don't know, 11:30, I would just go home and I'd sleep for a few hours, and I'd come back at like 3 a.m. Or sometimes I'd come back at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And if that car's still there, they spent the night. Whether they arrived at 10 and stayed till 5:30 or what, they spent the night. And in Tennessee, many, at least a decade ago, I don't know what the rules are now, but in Tennessee, a decade ago, if you spent the night, then, you're not supposed to have overnight guests while you have your child with you for your custody. So, like, when you have your weekend, you're not supposed to have overnight guests.
Right.
You weren't back then. I'm sure things have changed in the past decade or so, but yeah, that was one of the things people wanted. They always put like, catch them doing drugs. I was like, how? I'd have to just basically be doing drugs with them.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you supposed to do? Like,
I'm not gonna peep in their window. $15 an hour, It's like,
yeah,
it is not worth it, But I mean, the most I could do is like, you go to see somebody at a bar and they pop out with 7 of their best friends and share a cigarette,
Right.
About the closest I could get. But
that's actually pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good one. I guess you could probably catch them red-handed that way, but
no one over 30 shares a cigarette or something.
No, yeah.
I caught a dude buying crack and stuff one time. His wife wanted a divorce. She thought he was cheating on. He was going to a bad part of town and buying crack and like just smoking it in this little house. I don't think he was like,
Oh wow.
yeah, it was a pretty big shock to her. And I couldn't tell it was crack or anything at the time, but man, there was some seedy stuff going on.
Did she still want a divorce at that point, or was she
yeah,
oh boy,
she divorced him pretty hard.
Ouch. No, let's get you some help. Go live in your hut.
Yeah, he can get help on his own.
Yeah. Man, yeah, that'd be an interesting. I mean, there's got to be some Final Clone spinoff of like aquarium PI, you know, where in an alternate universe you just track down like marijuana dealer, get organized crime, and like snakehead smuggling rings, and I don't know, people who put their betta in a cup rather than a 5-gallon tank. You know, all those crimes that people are upset about on
like
forums.
a Dexter thing.
Yeah.
People that keep betas improperly.
Yeah, yeah, you go deal with them. It seems fair. Seems like
you're buying that fish.
Yeah.
You gotta keep it in that cup for a while, you think?
4 days later, still in the cup. I got the pictures.
And they're in their window.
Yeah. You can like have tarps set up all around them when you abduct them, and you got pictures of each day. You kept that fish in a cup for a week. I like that.
I'm gonna waterboard you to punish you for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. I'm no Scorsese, but Scorsese. It's like Cripps. I mean, I'm just gonna say Martin. I'm no Martin. You know, but I don't know. You know, I know other people have shows and time slots and things on tonight, and you know, I could talk to you for a long time and have a good time. So I really appreciate you chatting with us and and all that. I've had a good time. Do you want to maybe answer if anybody has a couple questions, and then we'll kind of wrap it up, like hit that kind of hour-and-a-half mark, and then call it a night if that works.
Sounds good to me. Cool.
So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Pecktec Aquarium PI?
Hey, I want to ask a question while we wait on a question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you've got a book coming out, or what? Or you're talking about a book. What was that in your last video? I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty awesome. Do you know who Ivan Mikolji is? He has a YouTube channel, and it's not a big channel, it's not a popular channel, but he lives in Venezuela.
Look at that.
And he has gone all over the Orinoco Delta, and he made this 400-page book of 20 years of photography. And he goes out like every day. Like, he's an ichthyologist, and he does a lot of work with, you know, Project Piaba, the Amazon Research Center, and just he's got like not every species, but most species that are in
Those are awesome.
I mean, just really cool photos, like of fish mating and of phenomena that you don't see every day.
What is that fish called?
That is a Lepornius ornato ortomaculatus. The common name is sea Latin name. So not in the trade, but yeah, I mean, there's just so many fish that you wouldn't even know about that are in that water. Like, this is another one I've never seen. This is the double line Lepornius, but I've never seen it in the hobby, and it's really cool looking. It's like it gets up to 12 centimeters, so it's not huge or anything. I mean, it's
looks like some weird concoction they make over at Seagrass Farms, like a
I know, yeah,
like a glowfish mixed with a tiger barb, mixed with a Chinese algae eater.
Yeah, exactly. And so this book, I've never paid this much for a book, but I paid $175.
My goodness.
But okay, so here's the deal. After I talked to him and kind of befriended him and his sister, who helps him run his company, because he's also an artist, fine artist and things. he paints kind of abstract art of fish that have inspired him. So he'll go to this place, he'll snorkel for like 10 hours starting at like sunup. He'll camp there the night before or whatever, fly in on a bush plane, whatever. I mean, he goes way remote. He's found lots of species nobody else has found. And then the other thing he does is he works for the IUCN Red List program. And so he does the like, say they want to know if Ultim angelfish are actually endangered in the Orinoco River. And he goes out and does a survey for a month or 3 months or whatever, goes and retraces the original maps from the 1890s of where they were found, or the original report of when they were discovered, tries to find species that were listed as one species, and maybe they're 5, you know, maybe that, like guppies, you know, were or the reverse, guppies they thought were like 10 different species because of the color changes, and it turns out they're one. And he's a person who has some of the last wild guppies that were confirmed. I mean, they're pretty sure they're extinct now in the wild.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How is that possible for guppies?
Right? I mean, there's domestic lines everywhere, including Iceland, Siberia, Germany. I did an episode on that, like all the places they've been introduced. There's thermal hot springs that they live in Siberia. I mean, like, how did they die out in the Amazon? I don't understand. Or the Orinoco, I should say. And Trinidad and Tobago, there are, I mean, a lot of generic fish, but when they test them, usually they're mixed with gambusia, or they're mixed with some other live bear, or a pet line that was kept in a lake or a pond for 100 years by some Italian, or I mean, some Spanish, you know, landlord or something. So yeah, it's, I mean, but in any case, the book, he then, after all that, he was like, well, I can cut you guys a deal, and I'll do the book for $125 is what he's selling it for, with shipping included. And he's like, but for your viewers, I'll give you guys 50 pages in full resolution for free. Everyone can look at, decide if they like the book. And if it's helpful, if they like it and they want all 400 pages of this, I mean, it's a big book, and it's, you know, a lifetime of work kind of thing. The only thing I've found similar is Heiko Blair's Discus Volume 1. And that thing's like going for $600 right now on Amazon, like for a beat up copy. And it's a few thousand for like a pristine copy. But they printed 1,000 of these books, 500 and some are gone already. And so I was like, you know what? He's not even like pocketing all the money for himself. It's going to fund charity work too. Like, so really? he was telling stories about how, I mean, he lives in Venezuela most of the year, and his wife is American, but he's he lives down there. And so he was talking about how they have these little shacks, like wooden shacks with light coming through the walls, like huts that are on stilts, usually because of the wet season. And they'll have a guard that's hired, that's like a local Amerindian guy with a pistol and like a really dingy shirt that's been not changed ever, you know, out in the jungle. And there's not even a road out there, you know. It's like you get there by boat and then hike in a mile, and it's like a ranger station for a national park kind of thing. And they'll have specimens from the 1820s in jars on a shelf, and a generator, and like if they need to access their records, they're out there somewhere, you know. And so in one case, there was a spot like that in this little town that was like the, I don't know, park reservation or park ranger type place. And it's so impoverished down there that they couldn't buy corks to recork the bottles. Like literally the government would not approve it. Nobody in town, no hobbyists or anything. And so for like $200, they recorked and saved like 1,000 specimens or something. They just needed like cork plugs or plastic caps, either way. And so he was just saying, like, he talked to me for a really long time, and I'm going to try to team up with him on that. But there's so many things in the developing world where our money can go so far. I mean, Project Piaba is awesome, and it's cool that they're doing what they're doing. But I mean, there's just so many opportunities where, like, you know, they've got a classically trained ichthyologist who is trained in Paris, you know, and he's trying to get to do work, but he doesn't have a laptop. So they bought him a solar charger and a $200 Lenovo laptop. And now he's published like 15 papers in a decade, discovered like 40 new species. I mean, so it's just incredible what's out there, like how far your money can go if there's not, especially if there's not the bureaucracy in the way of like, who should we give it to? You know, like, let's pay 50 people $100,000 a year to decide all that, you know?
Right.
And so he's kind of taken it upon himself, since he knows some of those tribes from all his travels and stuff. He'll just go there and be like, what are you guys doing? I mean, what practices, you know, oh, you guys are using this product and dumping phosphates right into your river, you know, maybe I can show you guys another way to do it, you know? So there's a lot of everything from conservation to education to just sustainable technology. And so really cool guy to talk to. He knows a lot of people in Europe and in South America, and it's kind of a different world than our fish hobby. There's kind of a hardcore level that exists in the US, but I think it's a little more widespread in some other places.
Sure.
But yeah, so the long story short is I've got a code on that video, and if you want to order the book, it supports that. It's $100 with the discount even, and it's 400 pages. And the other thing that's cool about all of it, I mean, other than, I mean, he's captured moments that I was just like, whoa, he got a fish. Wait, where is it? A fish with an underwater flower, you know? I mean, just really, really cool shots.
Yeah, try to do that in your aquarium. You'll spend all day waiting on that to happen.
I know. And it's like that, or a school of 10,000 Corridoras, you know, like, how do you get that shot? And so it just informs you a lot about like what, there was a picture in here that I liked a lot of, you know, there's everything from plecos to, I mean, you name it, anything that lives in the Orinoco, but there's video, like there's just to show you the tannins in that water.
Wow.
I mean, that's a wild guppy.
It's like chocolate milk.
Yeah, and that's from 2006. And so
I'll definitely check out those first 50 pages at least.
Oh yeah, and that's free too. But I was just surprised too, you know, all the mulm and how murky the water is, and the leaves and stuff where like apistogrammas are naturally from, and all that.
Right.
And just the beauty of the plants and the algae and all that. Like, he really has gone literally places that are not mapped out other than satellite photos. Nobody's been on the ground mapping it out. And so in any case, so it also helps fund his work to keep doing that, which is cool.
There's not a lot of those places left.
No, I know. Yeah, there's a place called the Lost World in Venezuela, almost thanks to the crazy government situation going on down there. You know, there's these places, same with like Myanmar or Papua New Guinea, Borneo, where you just get these spots that are no economic value has been extracted from them. So nobody in the West knows about them, you know? And yeah, so let's see if do we have any questions roll in here? Oh, how can we get the book autographed? Sorry, I took over that with the book after you mentioned that.
For $5 extra, Alex will pretend that he's the other dude and autograph it for you.
No, what I did to get the autograph book, that's why it cost me $175. Because to me, I've published 2 coloring books. I've published my artwork in anthologies too, and I have a publishing company called Soma Inc., where I can, in theory, publish other people's stuff. Registered with the Library of Congress because of my art gallery years ago that I was running. And it's just a good way to trademark your own work, is by publishing an anthology, even if you only print like 5 or 10. Even if those copies cost you $100 a piece, it's cheaper than filing the copyright or patent intellectual property rights to you know 50 different paintings or illustrations.
That's a great idea.
And I had a copyright lawyer friend that helped me with that. He's come in handy so many times in my life, but it's my wife's friend who married us, and he does other law stuff. He does like I don't know, settlement stuff out of court too. But he helped me with like sorting all that out. So he just told me like, yeah, just get all your work, publish it, call it an anthology, then it's in a work, and then that one work covers everything within it. Then you only have to pay $50 to the Library of Congress. Whereas if you want to do it normally, you have to pay $50 for each thing, and then a processing fee of like $46 or something like that on top of it. And it adds up quickly, you know. So
that's a lot for an individual piece.
Yeah, exactly. And in some cases, like, it's just to cover your back anyways, and it doesn't protect you. And like if someone steals your intellectual property rights, like you basically just have to sue them or tell them to stop. That's the only way you get it back. But yeah, so because of that, I just know like how much goes into it, and I wanted a first edition signed copy, especially because he's a painter and his artwork's starting to kind of go for quite a bit of money now, like overseas and things. So he also sent me a nice little pen and ink illustration with the book, which was really nice of him.
Support the stuff you like.
Yeah, exactly. That's really it. Is like, I don't have that much money, but I spend it in like the hobby. I spend it on, you know, an endangered species that I'm going to try to breed, or, you know, on whatever, good quality, if it's something I use a lot, or if it's going to last, that kind of thing, or it supports a lot of people, or that kind of thing. Let's see. Did I miss any questions? Someone in the US is going to win 5 amazing platinum blue angelfish, according to George. Okay, George, you want to give them away. Wow, thanks. We'll do that after the fact, and I'll post it and get a hold of the person, probably, because I don't know how to pick, and we didn't talk about this beforehand. And while it's nice, how do we do that? Well, I don't know.
There are web pages, like when I have a contest or something, there, if you just Google it, there are web pages where you can point it at your video and they'll pick someone in the comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I guess I know about those in the sense of like I've set them up beforehand. Do you know of any that will randomly select someone like now that we're already set up? Yeah.
I don't know. I
guess
I've never done it live or anything.
We could do the thing where I just think of a number. I mean, we got how many, like 120 people or something in here, give or take. And
Alex says you can just pick him.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say you have to go to George's channel next time he live streams. I'm putting it on George. George, can I do that to you? To encourage people to check out his beautiful fish tanks?
Why don't we give them a secret word?
Yeah. When you go to George's channel, if it's a live stream or however he wants to do it, live stream or on the next video he posts.
You have to comment Nutter Butter.
Nutter Butter. That's right.
My favorite cookie.
Oh man, I haven't had one of those in years. Those are good.
They're so amazing. I hadn't either, but I had one like the other day. I'm like totally off my diet now.
All right. Yeah. Nutter Butter. Hashtag Nutter Butter. Hold on. Nutter Butter. There we go. So you'll have to go to Aquaball's channel. That's George, who does ball pythons and beautiful fish. And hashtag Nutter Butter on either one of his most recent existing video, or George, are you going live tonight still? Or is that the plan or anything? Let me know real quick. Sorry about this impromptu stuff, everyone. But I mean, people are being kind. This is out of kindness that this is happening. So I want to facilitate it. This is it going live again. This is it. George, what do you mean? So you're not going live again, or you are going on later, like when I end here? In any case, why don't we just we can just say until I see him say otherwise. Right now, we're going to say if you hashtag Nutter Butter on his most recent video in the comments, you will be entered into winning the fish that he's giving out. 5 platinum blue angelfish, which are incredible pretty fish. He's quite the breeder of everything in the world.
What a nice thing to do. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really nice. And he said anywhere in the U.S. So Australians, I know what you're up to. Don't try it.
Blimey, I wanted them crikey blue fish.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're gonna do it that way because I don't know for sure if he's going tonight or whatever. Oh, August 2nd, he will go live. Well, whatever. Either go to his video and comment now, his most recent one, and say #NutterButter, and he can decide on that, or watch him live. Either way, I'll let him decide what he wants to do with that. But that way you'll be entered one way or the other. Okay, so back to Sean, my guest of honor. I guess question-wise, I guess people have already probably found you and just bugged you and asked you the question, is my guess. I guess the barrier to entry for us creators like you and I who actually, who are happy to chat with people, isn't too great,
No. I'm always happy to answer questions and stuff, and I talk a lot, so.
Okay, well, I appreciate it so much, you coming on and hanging out with us, and I had a really good chat, and always enjoy your videos. Encourage everyone to check out your videos. The links and all that have been in the chat. If you want to watch the chat later, they've been scrolling. My mods, thank you so much. Welcome, new mod, the Zen Ginger, and there's a few other mods that are now in here too. But thank you guys for holding it down and for posting links and all that good stuff. But we'll also do a pinned post after the question. Oh, Rico Stan had a question. Well, he would, wouldn't he? Putting a knot in our rope. Let's see here. What was his question?
I only just saw that I could see the comments like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Rico Suave has a comment. Oh, here we go. If Sean had to choose only one hobby between games, fish, or catching crackheads, what would he keep doing?
Oh.
By the way, it's
crackheads
funny.
For sure.
Yeah. All day long. You could be one of those trap rappers. What do they call them? Trap music rappers. Drill music. That's what they call it. Yeah. Oh, and I guess I'll talk about my coloring book in another time and place, guys, if you're curious about it. But go to they can post my website, which is Soma Ink Designs, INK Inc, SomaInkDesigns.com, and that has my professional life as an artist somewhat, as well as my Instagram.
This is about me. Alexander's Teespring page.
Oh geez, no, this is not about me.
Oh man, but you got really cool fish. I instantly bought a fish. I wore it the other day on a video.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you so much.
And I think that those fish are really neat looking.
They're kind of like the steampunk or biomechanic kind of look on one side, and then it's well, I guess, it technically is a Sumi ink and bamboo brush painting on the other side, but it's kind of more like a anatomical or biological botanical illustration kind of thing on the other side, but it's usually two-sided. So you can check that out. And I have been donating every month the proceeds to charity actually from that. So
really,
yeah, because I don't price the things way higher than the cost, and so it usually brings me $30 to $40 a month or something, and it's like I kind of just like paying something forward from what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So but during the holidays, I take that back, and I'm like, no, I'm keeping it in November.
Every now and then you pull your resources to
goals,
right?
I gotta feed all my little 300 baby children around here.
I got 600 mouths to feed.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Well, any parting words of wisdom? Any places we can see you other than your main channel and your board game channel? There's social media that you are active on?
Well, I do Instagram, and it's the same. I'm Pecktec just about everywhere. I had to pick Pecktec because there's another Sean Peck that's in a heavy metal band in LA. And so he's like the first 2 pages if you Google me.
There can only be one.
That's right. Yeah, I'm Pecktec on Instagram and stuff, and
there we go, right in the chat right now. If you're watching this later, there's a link.
I'll usually post a little heads up for whatever the video of the week's going to be. What's coming up next is going to be the Water Change Companion, which has you on it. You're going to be probably the last episode. I'm just going to go in chronological order. But I've got 4 episodes coming up with that. And while those are running, I'm going to be doing a 20-gallon filterless dirted tank. I'm redoing my 210 as a dirted tank. I'm redoing this one. God, I keep doing that. Redoing this one.
I do the same thing. The funny thing is, like, my hair's getting long, and I usually have a headband on, but today I've got the headphones, and it's just, I don't want it. So I keep trying to pick which side it's on, but with the reverse from this, I'm like, and I picked the wrong side half the time.
Is it backwards? I can't tell. Anyway,
yeah, you got it.
But I'm going to be redoing this tank too, in kind of a more traditional way. So I'm going to be putting out these interviews. So for like 4 weeks, they're just going to be interviews, and then I'll be back into the regular projects and stuff. I'll ride out this summer while people are out more busy out doing things and stuff, and get some interviews, and then I'll do the projects, and I'll probably finish out the year with I want to do an all girls set of interviews. I call it girls' night, but yeah, I don't know.
That's rad. Yeah,
but I've already got 2 people set up for that so far, and I'll probably at least do 2 more. And I've just got a lot of the girls' voices. I have a lot of female Patreons and stuff that are like, I really want to hear some female voices and stuff. So
I know I have to say women are my probably best supporters generally. If I had to like say guys or girls kind of thing. Yeah. And I mean, I've always been, most of my friends have usually been women in life. My best
They're
friends,
very loyal.
Yeah. They know when to tell me to shut up, and I've gone off the deep end, that kind of stuff. Like, they're great for so many things. Very smart.
I wanted to be a little bit more inclusive on this next set, but there were some scheduling issues and stuff.
For sure.
One of the people I wanted to talk to is Taylor from Simply Beta.
Yeah.
And she's building this whole new studio and stuff. So
yeah.
She get away. And I'm going to talk to Irene from.
I love her. Yeah.
Formerly a gamer's wife. What's her channel called now? Oh, Girl Talks Fish.
Girl Talks Fish. Yeah.
Yeah. She's really, really cool, and I want to talk to her.
Yeah, I really like her work.
And
she kind of reminds me of you.
Huh?
Her channel kind of reminds me of yours almost a
little bit. She and I talked for a long time at Aquashella in 2019 and stuff, and I just think she's a super, super cool lady. So I'm excited to talk to her. And I'll probably pick I've already talked to Rachel, but I'll I'll find a couple more.
She's one of the guys.
Yeah, I'll find a couple more really talented people, and it'll be neat. It'll be neat. I like doing interviews. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, definitely. I that's another thing I want to do, and then also I'm trying to tell more historic stories of just people that have had an influence. A lot of them have been women, especially early on in the hobby, like Victorian era and earlier. It was aristocratic men and women, but the women had more time. As far as like, if they wanted to be a naturalist and they're from a rich family, you basically just declared yourself a naturalist in the 1800s.
Start grabbing stuff out of the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
Draw pictures of it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, but yeah, I agree. I had, I think, less than 10% of my viewers were women in the first 2 years, and then now it's 75% male or 74% male, and like whatever, 26% female. And I'm like, really? Like, I can't get it near half at all, anywhere near that.
That's pretty good.
I hear that. I mean, I hear that that's good for our hobby and for YouTube in general. But women, I love y'all. I love my wife. And so does Sean. Apparently, we are.
I also love his wife.
Yeah, we're all for empowering everybody in the hobby, but especially those people who get shouted over or overlooked maybe sometimes by the people doing outlandish, loud things and just society in general. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Sean. People know where to find you now, I think, if they didn't already. And we're going to call it a night, guys. Remember to go to Aquaball's channel and do Nutter Butter as the hashtag under his most recent video. And he will be giving away 5 blue platinum angelfish, which are incredible fish. He breeds real incredible fish. But thank you so much, guys. And I will pin a comment for those of you watching later where we'll include some of the links to the stuff we've discussed and cover all that good stuff. But check out Sean's channel if you haven't already. Where are my hands going, man? And I will talk to everybody again soon. I'll have a video this week, and then I'll have a live stream coming up on Friday night at 7:30 Pacific. So yeah, that's about it. Let's sign off from here. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks for having me over.
I was gonna say, I'll let Sean have the last word here. Better not be.
Thanks for having me over. You guys have a great night. Time to drink.